Okay, so we just finished talking about where we got the god and the goddess from the cosmic energy. So now we're going to talk about why do we have the god and the goddess in some pagan religions, well, most pagan religions. So that's where I mentioned cosmic balance. I'm sure everybody's heard of yin and yang. Um, and if you take a look at the picture, it's a great example of what I mean by cosmic balance. You got the light and the dark, and there's equal amounts of it, and they're balancing each other out. No one has any power over the other. Um, and the yin refers to the female aspect, yang referring to the male aspect. Um, Also, it kind of brings me to karma. Um, all witches, all pagans, Wiccans, whatever. Um, well, this is really Wiccan. Believe in the rule of three, uh, or witch karma. You'll see it referred to as witch karma as well. Everything that you put out in the universe will come back to you times three. And karma, or the golden rule, also comes from karma. Any, do unto others as you would have done to you. So don't do anything bad unless you want it to come back to you even worse. So you want to do good things. You basically want to do spells and rituals that is not going to bring any harm to any person. Because if you do, it's going to come back to you times three, and it's not going to be pretty. So that's where we also get a lot of misconceptions. Back in I don't even know what year it was exactly, or I think it was like in the 1400s, 1600s maybe. Maybe it was even later than that. I'm not sure. When the Pope or the Christian Church decided to have the Inquisition and basically consider anyone non-Christian a heretic, and they were tortured until they either converted or died. So, um, and as a campaign to try and get people to switch over to Christianity, they basically made all the other religions the work of the devil. And witches don't believe in the devil. We don't believe that there is a devil. There is no demonic being. There's only the cosmic forces in the universe, and there are good and there are bad, but there's no devil. We don't even believe in that. I mean, we don't necessarily even believe in a god. I mean, we talk about a god and a goddess, but still, like I mentioned earlier, they are still ultimately just that cosmic energy that's also good and bad. So, um, we also have light and dark, night and day, male and female. Um, and that also brings me, when I talk about light and dark, night and day, that also brings us to the sun and the moon. And the sun and the moon are very common representations of the god and goddess. On my last slide, let me go to the last slide here real quick. These two pictures right here are also a representation of the god and the goddess. This is a representation of the horned god. You'll see the god referred to as the horned god quite a bit. And this is the triple goddess. This refers to maiden, mother, and crone. This being the maiden, this being the mother when she's pregnant, and the crone when she becomes, a sage or an old wise woman, basically. Get back to our slide here. Okay. So the sun is representation of the god, and the moon is a representation of the goddess. So when we start talking about, or when I make a video about the Wheel of the Year, and we start talking about Sabbats, Sabbats are the sun or the fire festivals, and Esbats are the festivals of the goddess, and that's basically where you just do work with just the goddess. During the Sabbats, you'll actually do work with both the god and the goddess. But they're also referred to as Mother Earth and Father Sky. I'm sure you've heard that from various Native American references. And they are referred to as Mother Earth and Father Sky in a lot of rituals and spells and stuff too. So that brings me to worship and prayer versus rituals and spells. And the reason I do it this way is because just about everybody has had some kind of education in Christian beliefs. Pretty much everyone. Because, the Christians believe in raising their children in the same religion that they are. So, my parents weren't really religious, so I didn't go to church that much. I went with my grandma and some of my friends. So it's pretty much all I know. And you see it in TV. I mean, come on. I mean, you can't get away from it. But so the reason I bring it up is because it's easier for people to relate that way because everybody has had some education and they know and understand what that means. So I bring it up this way because, well, I'll explain that in just a second. Moving on. So the cosmic energies that surround us can be altered. Like I mentioned earlier, use the Force. The Force in Star Wars. The Jedi just basically manipulate this cosmic energy um, to suit their needs. And the way you do that is with the power of thought. There was a study that I read about, I don't remember where, but back when 9/11 happened, they were measuring energy outputs. I don't remember how exactly, but they were able to measure energy outputs that were affected by the power of thought. Water can be manipulated by the power of thought. The crystals, they have this microscope and they can look at the crystals and stuff that make up the water mass, or actually make water, and they can be manipulated by the power of thought. So anyway, this study is able to measure that, and when 9/11 happened, pretty much the whole world was thinking about the people that were lost and the families that lost loved ones, and there was a lot of outpour of not just rage, but love, for the families that had lost loved ones. And this random generator usually just bounces back and forth, and the readings are just random because every person has a different thought. But for a few days to a couple of weeks, everybody in the nation was just thinking the same thing. And so this random generator barely moved during this time, and I thought that was completely amazing. So it's this power of thought that allows us to make these changes around us, and those are what most people refer to as spells or rituals, or when witches do their spells or do their magic. That's what magic is. It's the power of thought that is manipulating these cosmic energies. So the Christians call it prayer. We call it ritual or spells. Because ultimately a prayer is you're just praying to God to please help me find a dog, or please convince my dad to let me have a dog, please help me find a job. It's that kind of thing. You're sending your thought and your need for change out into the universe, hoping that it will come back to you in the form that you are asking. So spells and rituals are no different. We're doing the exact same thing. We're just doing it slightly a different way. And there are just ways of focusing those thoughts and those energies, giving us something to kind of grasp onto, to hold onto, to kind of make it more real for us, I guess. So rituals can be very elaborate. You can have an altar set up with your tools and your candles and your herbs and crystals. They even get way more elaborate as far as their timing. They time it based on the day of the year, time of day, the astrological sign that the moon is in, or even the astrological sign that the sun is in, what moon phase are we in, and so on like that. That's when it gets really complicated, but it can be really basic. All you really need to do is just say a few words, or just simply visualize something. But what really matters when you're doing a spell or something like that is the intention that you put behind it. That's what matters. So you can just say a few words, you can have an elaborate ritual, you can set up an altar, or you can just simply visualize it. But it's the power behind the thought. It's the intent that counts. So I'm at 9 minutes and a half again, so we're going to have to continue with part 3. So look out for Pagan Basic Beliefs, part 3.